Hello, personal productivity enthusiasts and community. Welcome to Anything But Idle, the Productivity News Podcast. Today's show is brought to you, of course, by Co-working Space by Personal Productivity Club. I'm Ray Sidney Smith,
And I'm Augusto Pinot.
and we're your hosts for Anything But Idle. This is episode 202 for March 26th, 2025. So, how's it going, Augusto?
Everything is going very well. No complaints.
Fantastic. So, welcome to those of you who are going to be joining us here live in the recording. And of course, welcome to folks listening after the fact to the podcast or to the recording. We are going to, of course, do our roundup of the productivity articles and technology articles of the week. And so, let's get into our personal productivity articles for this week, Augusto.
So the first article, it's a little older, but it come from make use of Anis title. I work entirely on my phone. I am more productive than ever. And I like the article. The user is talking, or the writer is talking about a Samsung device, and he's using a technology called Samsung Dex. That basically, when you connect that phone to a larger screen, it will give you basically a Chromebook or a desktop. Okay, and it is a fantastic technology. It's a technology that I, as an Apple user, has been jealous forever. Um, that said, I love the experiment, and his experiment that as a productivity coach, I have recommended to people. I have a couple of clients that their phone is their main device, and what we have given them is magnets and a keyboard. Okay, so they can come and using the magnets on the back of the phone, stick it in the back of a keyboard, but now having a full size keyboard. So that way, when they want to write a longer piece, they don't need to carry their computer, they don't need to carry their tablet, they don't need to carry anything else other than their phone. And this has worked very, very well for a couple of my clients in both are iOS, but the same thing as a Dex will work. I had a client years ago um, who had that. He was a real estate agent and he had the Dex with a touchscreen. So that way, when he goes to showings or he wants to show things with his clients, he could just carry his phone connected to that. It was a little the size of an iPad, but it was connected to everything and he could manage everything. So it was a very interesting article. And I have been, as an iPad only user, I've been iPad only since the iPad came out, can attest to that. The iPad at the end of the day, when now it's a much powerful machine, but when the iPad came, it was an underpowered phone, and it was incredibly powerful. And as a person who leave iPad only, I cannot recommend this to people more.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a place for this in certain people's worlds, and I think that there are folks where this is just a reality, where they're just always on their device, and I see with my own clients, the reality of the fact is that some of them are older and they have always been more comfortable with email on their phone. They spent most of their career in that space, and so it just made sense for them to do everything on the phone. And that meant that they had to make do with perhaps less features, less screen real estate, less access to documentation, in a larger, ecosystem of documents. But today, I think most of those pieces, other than the less screen real estate and the lack of a physical keyboard, typically on the phone when you're walking around, you're typically, I don't know why we went to this, kind of screen, glass screen based, system, or some of us are using POLED screens also. But the point is that we're now stuck tapping on a screen, which is not the nicest ergonomic form factor for typing. And so I'm really a big fan of these new Clicks keyboard cases, where phone cases that actually attaches a physical keyboard to the bottom of the phone. Oh yeah, it is
Oh no.
amazing. And so there are versions of the iPhone, and there are now versions for Android devices coming out. So most likely Samsung and Pixel first, and then probably others down the road. But the idea is that you get like a BlackBerry style keyboard attached to the bottom. So you get full screen real estate plus a physical keyboard, meaning that like I used to do, I could sit on a train or a plane and type blind, right? For hours, because there was a physical keyboard where I knew where the keys were, so I knew what I was typing, and it was not an environment where I could voice type. So that kind of thing was really nice. I think again we'll have the ability to now use a physical keyboard on an airplane tray, a pull out tray on the back of the seat. But it's just nice to be able to walk around and know what you're typing on the screen. So I think, again, going back to the point of the article, I think there's a place and a time for it. And I think Samsung DeX, which is DEX for folks who are looking for it, it's built into the Samsung environment. I hope that becomes more of the case as Android develops forward, to allow that kind of full screen environment to plug and play into a full screen desktop, so you don't have to switch between devices in order to get small screen, mobile, and desktop, when you're physically situate in a space that allows for a keyboard, monitor, and mouse.
Yeah, for me that leave iPad only, I have two iPad minis. My iPhone is actually a very old iPhone. I don't upgrade it until Apple says we are not upgrading your thing anymore. It's now obsolete. And the only reason I have a phone is because of the watch, because you cannot synchronize the watch otherwise. But I live with those two. And one of the cool things with this, using the phone, using a device, is you can now play with different keyboards. I like the small keyboards, the 10-inch keyboards. I love them. And I have one that can connect to both iPads. So I have side by side, and I can switch the keyboards one another and be, as the articles say, more productive than ever.
Fantastic. All right, on to our next article, an HBR article.
Well, the title comes from part of his review, and is "You are never going to cut up at work, so stop feeling guilty about it." And this is very important and very relevant. We are into the kicking of a transition that happened. When we talk in Productivity Cast, on my podcast, on Anything But Idle, 5 years back, about the forced transition for people to work remote and what was going to happen. And it's funny, now we are talking more about maybe coming back to some offices, and some offices trying to force people, and people looking for employment, because you can make me work now more hours, but also make me in the car and get me to the house, and make me take calls in the car, and all those. But what the article goes about is, forget about the list. Okay? And that, as a person who loves GTD, is difficult. Hey, what do you mean? I have my list. You know how much time it took me to create this list? And one of the things I talk when I talk on what I call the counterintuitive nature of GTDs. GTD evolved, and I said there are four stages. The first stage is you have nothing and you discover there is a label. Ooh, okay. And then the list is still existent and it's not um getting you crazy. But as you continue progressing, there is a moment that you are so good at capturing that you drown, as the article is. And I think this is the people that the article is. The people is very good. You are capturing. You are not working on emergencies, but your list now is so long that you can't digest it. You can complete it. You don't feel that you have a chance to win. And that is the moment where I tell people, go back and read the book, because you miss all that part, okay, about planning, all that part about goals, all that part about what you want to accomplish in life. It's fine, okay? It is in the book, I promise, okay? And you have read it multiple times and have missed it, because you only read that part when you are completely overwhelmed. Until you master everything else, that part, for the majority of the people, is missing. So when you hit this, you are never going to cut up a store and you are feeling guilty about it. That is the moment to look, fine, let me stop and find out what I'm trying to accomplish, what is where I'm trying to go. As you were discussing, or we were discussing about the decks, and you make me thought about something that came to my life many years back. Right? When I had my first child, I was a road warrior, is what we were called. Okay. And I traveled 250,000 miles a year. I was never with the kids. And that was the moment I say, this job is great. I like it, but it's not going to work. And I reinvent myself, reinvent my career and all that. And 2 or 3 nights ago, last week, we were in bed and I needed to do something. And I still go to bed to one of my kids. And I told him, I don't do this every night, but that night I needed to do something. And I told him, do you mind if I bring my keyboard with me in bed? And like you, I touch type, so I can put the screen and the keyboard somewhere else, and I just type. And in a moment, my son sit on the bed and say, "How did you type that fast?" And I was looking at him like, "Oh, dude, you have no idea of people who can't type fast because I am not that fast." But for him, it was a shocking. But at the same time, that is the reason I do what I do. That is, to have those moments. And that in my world as a productivity coach is the solution for this feeling guilty. Yeah, I needed to do stuff. Yes. Did I ask the child? Yes. But I wasn't feeling guilty about it. And if he will have told me no, as he has told me other times, I will have had coffee after and get it done. He was agreeable to it. So I typed and had a moment of surprise him or shock him. Okay. It's something that he still come and look, come on, show me how fast can you type. Okay.
I think this article is really interesting because it brings up some of the psychological disadvantages of being highly productive people, which is that we tend to shame and blame much more because we are aware of what we can do and what others can do, and that sets sometimes unrealistic standards. And so I would just highly encourage everyone to what as they say, take a chill pill. Like there just needs to be a moment where you recognize that to shame is very rarely a useful response to a situation. Most often than not, it is about helping other people reclaim personal responsibility. That helps them develop self-efficacy, right? If you just shame a child over and over again, guess what that child is going to do? They're not going to get better. They are going to resent you. So if you want to create a wonderful, resentful relationship with your child, keep blaming and shaming them. And you think the same thing about yourself is going to be different. If you continually blame and shame yourself, you're going to create less motivation. You're going to create resentment with yourself. And the last time I checked the psychology books, you cannot get rid of yourself. You can't decouple your mind from your mind. So you are stuck with you, which means that you need to be able to build a good relationship, a working relationship with you, which means there just needs to be opportunities to save face. So you're not going to always get everything done on a checklist. You're not going to get everything done on your task list. And you're certainly, if you're a really good GTDer, you're going to have a lot more items on your list than you will ever be able to achieve. And that is okay, right? That's what your weekly reviews are for. That's what your larger reviews are for. And if you are not a GTDer, that still is what reviews are for. You don't have to be a GTDer to do a review. But at that point, you need to look to maybe Ryder Carroll and the bullet journal method, look to Essentialism and Greg McKeown, and start thinking about what is it that I actually need to accomplish to feel good about my life? It's not everything on that list, because if it is everything on that list, what it is nothing on that list, right? So, you try to do everything and really ultimately you're just going to logjam yourself from getting the essential, the truly most important work done. And it's not going to be that you sent more email on your epitaph, right? It's going to be that you spent more time with your family and friends. It's going to be that you did that thing that you are scared of doing today. So go do that thing. And don't give so much of a crap about the stacking, tracking, and maintaining of the task list for the sake of doing it, right? And what I think David Allen proffers, which is the true value to me in getting things done, which is that it's telling me what I'm not getting done, so I can go back to doing what the heck it is that I want to be doing. And so, being able to have those lists intact tells me gives me the ability to turn off that part of my brain that is the monkey on your shoulder to be able to focus on the truly creative, truly generative, truly valuable work that needs to be done in the moment. And I think the HBR article really, underscores that element for me. That's what stood out, and I think all of us can have that level of self compassion and self awareness that needs to be developed over time. All right, on to our next article. Go ahead. Did you have a other thought?
I was going to say, or wait until you pass, and then your epitaph can be now email can accumulate.
Well, I do have. So, if anyone doesn't know this, and you are in the Gmail world, in the Google world, there is an inactive account manager role that you can set on
Yes,
your email. And so you should set that up so that if you and when you do pass away, you can pass that on to a spouse, partner. For me, it's the executor of my estate, and that person then will get access to your email, and then and I have it's kind of a cheeky message. It's a little morbid, but basically the message says, if you're receiving this message, this reply is automated, and it's because I'm dead. And so, but it's true. If I don't respond to that email and the inactivity monitor is doing so, it's because I've not accessed my email for several months, which definitely means I'm dead. But everyone should think about how you're going to deal with that piece of it. Anyway, on to time affluence. This Lifehacker article about time affluence.
So this is an interesting thing, and one of the things I work with clients is what is the definition of time, and you, the listener, think about that. How do you define time? And most people don't define time. Most people define scarcity. And the article talk about the affluence people, the people who has time to do what they want, and the people who live on this concept of scarcity. I don't have enough hours in the day. I don't know how I'm going to accomplish everything and all this. The first step is understand that definition. And the second step that ties up with what we were saying is understand where do you want to go? How do you want to live? I didn't know remote work, okay, when I was young. Remote work didn't exist. The word didn't exist in 20 years ago. But I knew that I didn't want it to commute. Okay. I was okay traveling, but I didn't want it to commute. Okay. So I figured it out how to change those things, how to transform myself into what I will have never called time affluent, but that's what it was. I wanted that flexibility. I wanted to be able to do things that other people don't can't do. I have what I call the luxury tied up with that affluence word of drop my kids at school, pick the kids from school. Oh, it's everyday fun. No. Okay. But it's still, I see it as a luxury. Okay. I feel great that I did that I can be there at the exit time. Is beautiful every day? No. But again, what is that image? And the article bring couple of ways how to become more time affluent, as they call it, organize, use time blocking, delegate, automate. And the one that was the most interesting to me was monotask or avoid multitasking. And I have said this for years. I multitask like crazy. Yes, I also have an HDHD like crazy. So depending, and as I tell people, look when you look at things like HDHD, or I get easily distracted, these things, you can look them from two perspectives, like time. You can look them as a weakness. Oh well, I have HDHD. That's a weakness. Okay. Or you can learn about it and transform that into a superpower. And it's what I was lucky enough to do. If you will look at around my office, there is 9 screens. Why? Because I get distracted like this. And what means is instead of allow my mind to distract to the next thing, it focus on the next one. Say, oh, well, look at this. I missed that one. Okay. And I get back to work. I transform that thing into a superpower. Unless you are trying to pass from TSA, they do not agree with this.
I thought the article was interesting because I don't know how many people think about time affluence as a form of wealth, and so it's just good to think about. If you haven't considered this, I would encourage you to do so. I think Augusto and I both are on the same page in that regard, and I think also there is this unfortunate push, I think, for some folks to believe that their world has time affluence, or that when you don't have it, the absence of it, that you can't create moments of time affluence. So, I know folks who will say, my days are just so busy with the kids, so busy with work, I just don't have a moment. And that's just my reality. And I get you. I hear it. Right? Like that is legitimate. And I have seen clients who have shown me their calendars, and it is a, back to back to back, every moment is taken from them. And there are still moments, maybe once a week, maybe it's once a month, where you can steal back that time, right? Make that space. It could be scheduling a personal appointment and adding an additional 30 minutes to the commute time, so that you have that space for yourself. Figure out what you can do to work within the system that you're given. And I always say, like, okay, what if you are, sick for 3 days? Like you would be sick for 3 days. You would basically not be working. So what would you do with that time if you weren't sick for those 3 days, but you just had that kind of time available to you? And start to think how you might be able to work within your own system. And there are ways in which you can optimize, then basically automate your world and then delegate. And I think that's what's his name? His escaping me right now. It'll come back to me. But he talks about this idea of optimizing first, then automating what you can, and then finally getting to the delegation piece. But there needs to be some level of us, getting those pieces, under our belt before we start thinking about how to get to this time affluence space, because we can't get there if we don't have kind of that groundwork done for ourselves in that sense. And yeah, so that's really, I thought it was a really good article. It's definitely worth reading, and thinking through what time affluence means for you, because it means different for everybody, right? So time affluence for me is me having the time to read, right? If you take that time away from me, I would hate you. Like I just love reading, and I love being involved in the discussion with an author through the written word. And that's time affluence to me. So like if I end up in jail, it's no big deal. 'Cause as long as I can access books, I'm pretty much okay with it. Not planning on any jail time anytime soon. But like I just really love time with books, and so I love having my Kindle. I love having a physical book and being able to enjoy that time. So you figure out what that means for you, and I think start figuring out how you can re-archetype your world to give yourself that kind of time.
And then two things I will add to that is one of the issues I found a lot is you think that time required 2, 3, 5 hours. Okay. How about you look on 10 minutes? And fine, eventually you can expand it or not expand it. You will figure it out. Okay. Reading was one of those things. Okay. And I began carrying the Kindle. Okay. Many years, Moonpack. Okay. Actually, it was on the Palm Pilot where I began reading. And I remember books were triple, but I was allowed to get those 10 minutes. So, so fine, make a list of what those things are and see if you can optimize them. Even you will like the 45-minute massage. I get it. Okay. But how about you get one of those massage guns? Okay. And plug it in your desk. Okay. And then take a 10-minute break. Okay. And go on your shoulders or your lower back. It is the same? No. But it's going to start giving you that path to time affluence.
Right. On to our next article, a Mashable article on remote work.
Well, this is where I'm going to get into my soapbox. It's written from woman to a woman, And the title is "The End of Remote Work Doesn't Work for Women." And I will have loved the article to be "The End of Remote Work Doesn't Work for the Primary Caregiver." It doesn't matter if it's a woman or if it's a man. It's irrelevant. The article is valid both ways. And it's not about article, but it's who is that primary caregiver who takes care of the kids, take care of a lot of the things on the house or the house, okay, and the kids. And now it's been pulled back into the office. And what is going to be, or what are going to be, the sacrifices that these people are going to need to make in their careers going up, because we are trying to go back to 2019.
Yeah, I think there are, and this will be a perennial topic here on Anything But Idle and Otherwise, because Augusto and I are pretty involved in this space, and something that we'll obviously cover at length in the Distributed Work Summit upcoming. And the reality is that there are so many factors in this. There is no remote work good, in office, in-person work bad. There's nothing like that. It's not clear cut. And what we will find is that there are going to be companies that make inroads by having a remote first perspective. There will be companies that have distributed workforces, and there will be companies that have to be in person completely for them to be able to get the work done. Right? Like, I am not going to go to a remote massage therapist. So, but at the same time, if you had all of your massage therapists in an office and everybody coming to the massage therapist and none of them going to people's homes where it might be more convenient, there may be a loss of business. And therefore, you actually have a distributed workforce if some people are in the studio and some people are going to people's homes. So no matter what and how you think about remote work, don't think about it as somehow remote work is the problem, right? Or that in-person work is the problem. It is about what is the right metered approach to making sure that people can get their work done, right? And if I don't need to be butt in chair in an office, then you need to think about why you have me stuck with my butt in the chair in the office, right? And there are good reasons for that also, right? If you are a very junior employee just out of college and you don't have a network and you do not have or have had the mentoring in a particular space, then it may be really good for you to have everybody in person to be able to help mentor that individual, and to network and to go out to lunches and to interact so that they know not to put fish in the microwave at the office. There are just things that you don't know until someone is like, hey, don't do that, right? Or someone walks by your desk and they see you doing something utterly and absolutely inefficient or stupid. And you're like, hey, you know what? It would be better if you did it this way. And, clients will appreciate it better. You'll get the work done better. Or maybe you won't be fired for being a moron, right? So, we have some really great reasons for having people in the office. And there are also some really deleterious effects, as the article notes here, around having a primary caregiver in this particular case, talking about women leaving the workforce for child birth and or child rearing, and then not being allowed to really get back into the market and losing out on economic advantage for the family by virtue of that basically discrimination, right? Because people will not hire women or will pay them less for those reasons. And so we have to be mindful of just the economic, equity issue there. And then, as you noted, right, like, it doesn't matter if on the child rearing and child care piece of it, what the gender is of the individual, there's going to be a loss there if the firm, right, if the businesses, the corporations and organizations don't learn how to have a nuanced approach in this regard. So that's kind of my soapbox on this. I think we get wrapped around the axle of having, some binary of good, bad, good and evil regarding these pieces. And I think that what hurts us more is when, political leaders or major corporation leaders come out and make these blanket statements about what they feel about their organization, and people then generalizing it to all organizations will be better off if they do that. I actually also find it to be wrong when you have an organization that says we're remote first and we're making more money and we're doing really well as a startup, say, yada yada yada. That's fine. It's good for you. You know that it works for your company. That doesn't mean that can be translated to every other company, even like you, or to all companies in that regard as
to
well.
all the stages of
Yeah,
your company.
exactly. Absolutely. So, but definitely a topic that we will continue to be talking about because there's so many different angles to this that I think would be helpful for folks to understand as we come to rationalize the arguments on both sides of that aisle. All right, on to someone I adore, which is Gretchen Rubin. Talk to us about Gretchen Rubin.
Go. You will guide this one because you love Gretchen. Go.
Well, so Gretchen put out what I thought was a really lovely article on just like how to organize, right, and making organizations simple. Gretchen Rubin is known for many things like the Happiness Project and Better Than Before, the Four Tendencies, and she's got a new book coming out. I forget the title of it now, but I'll be certain to read it. And it's about adulting, I think, and not adultery, but being an adult. And so but yeah, so she puts together this like really simple shopping guide, and she's got label makers on there and some other really interesting things like I never even thought about having a shelf on my stove. I don't think I would do that one, but she just has these various items like an ornament box and some other items, and she just gives some basic tips around all of that. And I thought it was really useful to just like think through, like, not everything on this list. Like, it's a short list. I mean, it's like seven
items.
Yeah, but the idea here though is for you to think through, like, wait, how can this actually help me in my own world, and will it? If it won't, then it's not worth purchasing. For example, like, I have a label maker and Augusto has a label maker. We come from that world of heavily using our label makers, but it's not necessarily useful for everyone, right? So if you are someone who has banished paper in your world, which I have even in my world, but I still need paper on some level, so I have a label maker and I have files, and there are a few of them and I use it much less often now, but it's just still nice for me to have. Not everybody has that luxury, and it's okay. An ornament box means that, one, you celebrate Christmas and you put up a holiday tree and you need to organize. If you don't, then that's really not for you. It's not worth kind of doing. So just like, it's useful. I like the idea of like just looking at the article. I was like, you know what? I could use a 3-tier card. And it was good for me to think about.
It shows the simplicity. At the end of the day, the more simple of this stuff, the better. I remember when I begin replacing our Christmas boxes for red boxes. Okay? And we have a lot of those boxes. Why? I don't know. I have 2 kids and a wife. It's okay. Apparently, it's what happened. But it is very nice to get to the attic, okay? And I know which boxes to get down. If they are orange, guess what? They're Halloween. If they're red, they're Christmas. There is no thinking, no nothing. Oh, let me start opening boxes to see which one it is. And it was something that it really brought a difference to this thing. Same thing. I use a lot of these boxes. Okay. Why? Because they're easy to contain stuff. Okay, and I can organize my shelf instead of, and the box just fall. And the organization is over. But still, I can organize this stuff much easier.
That's how we know we're not AI. Not yet, at least. No, I think it's really good for us to kind of think through these items, and every time I see one of these articles, it really just helps me think through, do I need that? Do I not need that? And if so, like, I don't need it, you know what I mean? But I've recently taken up acrylics, and I thought, oh, you know what, it would actually be a really nice thing for anything that I was doing that was crafting related, that I would have this cart, and then I would be able to go ahead and put the cart all the crafts in the cart, and I could pick it up, take it upstairs, downstairs, kind of thing, roll it around, and it would all be contained in that space. And if like one of the acrylics spills, it's just going to be inside the hull of the cart, so it's not going to spill everywhere. Like little things like that I thought, this is worth me just considering, and I may still not do it, but at least I'm thinking about it in that sense, and that I think that's healthy and positive for everyone to do. So just like give that some consideration as you're making your way through. All right, our last article in the productivity articles space is a New York Times article about how we can avoid burnout at work.
I'm coming back to the article where we talk about the too many things and the time of affluence. And I thought it was a good conclusion article because at the end of the day, what is burnout? And in my world, burnout means you are not doing what you want, you're not doing enough of what you want, and you are not taking enough time for you. That at the end of the day are those three things. And how do you avoid burnout? Well, the question is not how much you're working, but how much you're enjoying the work you are doing. How much time, okay, of that time that you have, or you have time scarcity or time abundance? Where are you with that? What have you integrate into that crazy schedule? Okay, that makes your life better. Right? If you are watching the camera, you will see something that I have bring as an accessory. Okay, that is called the Airflies company called 12,000. Why? Because allow me to connect to my AirPods. That is something I like. Okay, that works. Any device who has a 3.5 plug in. So it doesn't matter what computer you have. I can connect that thing and it will connect to my box. I don't need to find, let me see, where is the cable things? No. Just go here and can switch ears and it works like a charm. So what are those little things that can make your day better? What are those things that you can do or use or buy that are going to make your day better, that are going to make you look at that thing and smile?
Yeah, I think the point of the article in on the New York Times is about understanding burnout, and this is talking about physical and emotional exhaustion, and then of course typically that includes cynicism and various levels of that shame and blame, right? We feel like we're underperforming, we feel like we're not doing enough. These symptoms can many times mimic low mood disorders like depression and other kinds of forms of low mood, and of course, when we think about it, it's because in some way, shape, or form they are affecting our activities of daily living, and ADLs is something that many people in many different industries in healthcare kind of talk about. But once you start to see your activities of daily living impacted in some way, shape, or form, your daily life is going to obviously diminish in quality, and we want to start thinking about those things. So one is, work is a big part of many people's lives, and we have expectations about how we are going to get that work done. And when stress causes us to then, heighten our expectations about what we're going to accomplish at work and what we actually get done at work, we basically have this imbalance, this dissonance between what is actually accomplished and what we want to accomplish. And that gap is the stress, right? That is the area where the joint basically gets overworked, in kind of using the analogy of like a body joint, right? And we need to work better to be able to close that gap, so we have just better grasp of the situation at work. And the article also identifies some pretty good prevention strategies and other kinds of things. I think all of them are pretty basic things. Better communication, better expectation setting, making sure that you are engaging in extracurricular, extra work activities that are rejuvenating, right? I always talk about rejuvenation as something separate from rest. Rest is something where you are not doing anything, so that your body can repair itself. And that includes your brain, right? So you go into mind wandering mode, almost half the time of the day, and that's because you're your brain is doing some cleanup, right? It's basically defragging the system. Your body needs to do that as well. And I think that rejuvenation is the expenditure of energy toward things that are not work related and not responsibility related. They're things that are just tertiary. Like I said, I'm taking up acrylics. I'm not going to be, Van Gogh anytime soon. I'm certainly not thinking about cutting off my ear. And so, but I'm going to enjoy this process of giving energy towards something. And you should too. I think there's a lot of benefits to rejuvenative activities. All right. And so with that, we have wrapped up our productivity articles for the week, and we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with our technology articles this week. So we'll see you after the break.
While working in person may be normal for you, it's unlikely your coworkers are as interested in being productive as you are. Or working remotely or from home can be isolating, and there's something powerful about being with productive people, even virtually, that helps you be more engaged. If a flavor of these sounds familiar, Co-working Space by Personal Productivity Club is for you. Co-working Space is a virtual work community designed to help members be more effective and efficient in their work and personal lives. At its core, we provide goal tracking and host focused action sessions throughout the week for accountability and camaraderie. Visit anythingbutidle.com/coworking to learn more. Co-working Space lives inside Personal Productivity Club, a digital community for personal productivity enthusiasts, so you can find people who use methods and tools you do too. Again, head over to anythingbutidle.com/coworking to see how Co-working Space can help you be more productive. And now, back to our show.
Welcome back, everybody. And we are on to our technology articles this week. And so, Augusto, what is our first article this week?
The first article comes from Macworld talking about Apple Intelligence. Is titled Apple Intelligence Isn't Just Bad, It's Making Apple Worse. And artificial intelligence, it's still too young to really know where everything is going to be. And Apple, like everything Apple do, and like the article said, eventually they will come and explain to us how they invent artificial intelligence. Okay, that's what they have done for years. Okay, we have joked about it multiple times, and there is no difference. They are going to eventually figure it out. What is the flavor of this artificial intelligence that they want to provide? And until that is defined, it is going to be not great. That's how they do everything. They pick a product, okay, and that's how they do it. When you think on the AirPods is one of the products that they experiment the least. Other than those, they have come with an idea and launch it and let people play with it. And when people hit the niche, it's like, oh, this is what we were thinking from day one. That's who they do as a company.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about Apple and their business in this particular regard. They are behind the eight ball. I would agree with the article there. I don't think that is a death knell for Apple. I do say that it's also really holding them back in some ways. I can I can agree with the article in the sense that there are probably things they have not developed because they are spending time, trying to play cleanup here. I think the Vision Pro, in disagreement with you, I'm sure, was a mistake. They should have probably gone down a different road with the Vision Pro, but I think that they are going to stick with it, and they're going to iterate on it, and it'll become better over time. And maybe it will find some inroad. But I think that ultimately, a glasses form factor that you could just put on your face that isn't going to weigh you down or take up, a considerable amount of real estate on your face is probably the more likely form factor. And most of us don't have a problem with our phone being tied to us right now. Honestly, in years past, I had an 11-pound laptop. and my power cable was another 2 pounds. It was a 2 pound brick. I carried it in what would be, to me, a small, suitcase. And and when the technology was available, I was very happy to have it and to use it in that sense. So, the idea that now the Vision Pro is a large device that takes up a lot of real estate, and over time it will shrink and it will become better, and that kind of thing. I think the same thing with with Apple Intelligence. I think right now it is fairly useless. There's some nice features about it. Nothing that I don't think many other tools are not already providing supplementary, and it's not going to bring people to iPhones, right? It's not going to force someone to buy an iPhone. But I don't know. I'm at that, like, do I really care, right? Like, I'm at that. Do I really care about this in terms of Apple Intelligence holding Apple back? No, I don't see that being the case. So, I think there's a lot of words here in the article committed to kind of eviscerating Apple in a lot of ways, and I think with like a sense of wanting to push them to do better, right? And that's okay. Like, I get that. But I don't know. I don't know that there's a solution to this problem. Different than Google, right? Like, if Google was asleep behind the wheel on artificial intelligence, Google would be in trouble, right? And counter to what other people believe about Google not putting out Gemini faster, that is, putting out Bard, which then became Gemini faster, Google has been and had been working on AI for many, many years to this point. It was just because OpenAI beat them out the gate with a chatbot that accelerated their need to get in front of it. They would have had that out in probably 6 months, maybe 9 months later than OpenAI had they done it. It would have probably been a more smooth rollout, but that didn't make them behind the 8 ball. And you can see that in the fact that using Google Gemini today is a pretty solid experience, and it's just getting better. They just put out Gemini 2.5 yesterday, I guess. So they are iterating at a very fast clip. Google Workspace has now integrated Gemini into almost all of their product surfaces, and Microsoft is with OpenAI and all of the investment they have had behind the scenes with OpenAI. They're still kind of playing catch up in some regards to make Copilot really truly useful to the end user without all of this. I mean, like, if you want to set up agents, it's a whole boatload of work to be able to do it. And I get it, because Microsoft wants to make money. They want to recoup their investment in OpenAI. So there's a lot that they're doing to make it a money-making vehicle for them. And Google has decided to go very different direction. They're making it universally available to Google Workspace users who are paying for it. So, and honestly, the free Google Gemini is pretty amazing as well. So Apple didn't have that in their infrastructure, right? And so I think that if they take the time, just as Amazon is doing, right? So, like, let's be honest, Amazon invested in Anthropic's Claude, and I really like Claude, by the way. I think of all of the models, I really enjoy Claude's more metered approach to how it communicates with me. But Amazon's building Nova, which is their AI model, their LLM, that is, and so they will soon and likely decouple from Anthropic's Claude once they launch Nova in the future. So we will see Amazon and Apple really competing for what is third and fourth place in the marketplace, maybe fourth and fifth place if you consider OpenAI separate from Microsoft. I tend not to, because they're running on top of Microsoft's Azure, and so I tend to think about them as the same, even though they are separate. And we'll see if Microsoft clips the wings of OpenAI at some point and says, okay, you've valued at X amount, we're done, and see what happens there. But from a productivity perspective, I think that Apple has a huge opportunity here to help people who have Apple devices, Mac OS, iOS, and iPadOS, to be more productive utilizing Apple Intelligence, and it'll only get better. It's just going to be slower and a slower rollout than it has been on the Google side, but I don't think there's any real major loss.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
All right, onward from Apple Intelligence to some more Apple Intelligence, which is finally.
So after so many crying and complaining about RCS and the blue and the green, well, Apple's getting into that, again, in their ways, how they do things. Okay, that they're a big mammoth monster and they move very slow, but finally their messages will get end-to-end encryption, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think so that folks have an understanding about this. When you are a green bubble in the iOS world, you are sending an SMS, basically between individuals, and then Apple basically added RCS, which is a completely different protocol. It is not SMS, right? It is a chat based protocol. And that chat-based protocol then allows things like if I were to, long press on a message and heart something, then I would see that on my side inside of Google Messages as a heart, as opposed to,
Somebody
love
loved your message.
and quoted the message and all of that other stuff. And so it creates a stratification of sorts, and that's never a good thing. And now that that's available, that's great. But it wasn't encrypted, and so when you were messaging with folks, you were no longer having an encrypted message. And as we've learned in just the last couple of days in the political news, having encrypted messages is important, and of course, who you include in your chats is also important. And so in this particular case, though, I think this really helps us. This helps us be more secure in our messaging so that we don't have data leakage or privacy leakage when it comes to our messaging. And so I say kudos to Apple for finally getting on the bandwagon there. And so hopefully we see more and more adoption of the basically the specification for RCS. And I think that Apple and Google here are doing the right thing by working together to make that happen. I know that Google's been on board for much longer, but that's just because they were the ones who wanted to get more folks on board. So I get that. Going forward, I think it's just going to be now an easier road for everybody now that these things are in place. It's not like they're going to take it away, and I think that's a good thing. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about message threads coming to WhatsApp. Another really great innovation.
This is going to be great. That this is coming. The article don't say sadly when it's coming. It talk about the Android beta already have it, so the iOS people will continue waiting for this, but this is something that is going to be for the users of WhatsApp so useful. It is so nice when you can thread message and then know what. Otherwise, you get a message. Yes, it's like, yes, what? Okay, and it is very after it never bothered me when this didn't exist. Now it does on the people who have it and don't use it.
Yeah, I think so that folks have kind of a clear-eyed perspective on this. This allows you to basically create a new internal conversation with a person so that it's its own view. So when you click, you can right now reply to a message. So you can either swipe on a message. I think it's a swipe left on a message in WhatsApp. It's the opposite in Telegram, so it constantly confuses me. But if you swipe left on a message in WhatsApp, it will then basically give you the option to reply. And if you type yes, you'll know what it's replied to. The thread gives you a whole new screen where you pop into it, and now that conversation is basically all around that topic. So you basically have topical conversations within the same conversation chat with a person, right? So you have that kind of ability. Wonderful concept here, especially in group channels, like inside of any channel or group where you might have many different people conversing about many different topics. Now you'll be able to do that. And I'm not a heavy WhatsApp user, but obviously I'm sure you are, Augusto, with your family, and many people around the world use WhatsApp, internationally. And so it's really useful in that sense. And yeah, I would love every app, including Google Voice and Google Messages, and really every tool out there should do this. This is the right way to do messaging threads, so that you're able to go ahead and have topical conversations that are embedded within the rest of the ecosystem. All right, onward to Calibre. Just recently had an update.
Yeah. So Calibre released this new update. Now you can even convert to Kobo, the Kobo version of EPUB. So go from EPUB to Kobo, the Keep EPUB, as they call them. I don't know I don't have a Kobo device, so I don't know what additional benefit you get from an EPUB to that. When Amazon went to EPUB, it was nice because I just dumped the EPUB instead of transform it. Still, Calibre is an application that I use and that I have used to have incredible conversion from PDF to EPUB. They do a very, very good job.
Yeah, so anybody who doesn't know, Calibre is Calibre, and that is a play on the fact that it is free open source software, or Libre software. And so Calibre is and allows you to convert almost any kind of document to an EPUB or an ebook format. And so you can take, say, a Word document or a PDF and turn it into a Kindle document and then upload it to your Kindle. Now only through the cloud versions of that. You can't physically connect your Kindles anymore and do that because Amazon is terrible. And so come on, Amazon, like really. So anyway, but the idea that is that if you had a Kobo reader, you wouldn't be able to upload them in the native Kobo format, and now you are able to do that. So that's really the benefit of this update. But I just wanted everybody to know that you can say that you have an older Kindle, and you want to be able to, get a PDF or something like that into that version. Well, you can go and you can use Calibre to convert it into any of those older versions, and therefore now be able to upload it to that particular Kindle and read it on that device. So this gives you that capability that you otherwise wouldn't have. Also, if you are any person who has a business and you are giving away ebooks for free, or selling ebooks in some way, shape, or form through Gumroad or through another platform like that, you can convert them into all of these formats so that people can download them in the format that they are most, capable of accessing. And that just gives more people options to be able to read the materials you're publishing. So, PDF tends to be the format people want to publish things in online, but at the same time, it may not be convertible for the ebook reader that you have. All right, on to our next and final article in the technology articles.
And final article. So our final article is from Futurity, and it's called "Listening to Music Alone and the Hidden Benefits." And I was thinking about this as I was reading the article, and the article say, hey, this help with loneliness, help you with. And I'm thinking about how music has evolved. You used to have a tape, then you have a CD, and then you make your own mix. But now, a lot of people use Amazon Music or Apple Music. And I was thinking about this as I was reading it. I have on my Amazon Music a playlist who is all those songs, you hear a song, say, oh yeah, that song. And I find the live version, the concert version of that song, and add it to that. And it's only versions in concert where I don't know how many songs it has, but it's very nice when I want to just decompress a little bit on my own. That is the playlist. It's a concert. It feels more animated than a formal record studio. But the article talk about all the benefits that you get from listening music on your own, and one of them is stress or de-stress.
Yeah, I thought so. This is based on an article. I think it is out of the University of Buffalo where this research was done. I might have that wrong, but
Buffalo.
Yeah. And so this was published in the Psychology of Music journal. And the whole idea is that music can act as a social surrogate. So if you have these emotions of loneliness and feelings of rejection or those kinds of things, that that music can act as a social surrogate along those particular pathways or along the social surrogate pathways that exist, and that means that people can feel better about what they're doing. And I think this just is kind of correlative for us to think about when it comes to our own productivity and feelings of potential isolation. I know that I work in an office of by myself. Like I see everybody all day, and I'm interacting with people all day. They're always through the screen. I always tell people I am the disembodied rectangle on your screen, and typically spouting off and telling you what you need to do. But the goal here, though, is to be able to connect better with not just others, but with yourself. And I think that music allows you to do that, since it's touching so many of those emotional pathways in your brain. It really does help to provide wholeness where potentially that doesn't exist. And that's a very non-scientific way of describing it, but I feel like that's kind of the way it feels for me when you do. And it was a reminder again for me. These articles just typically remind me of things, which is like, I stopped listening to music while I was working, and then I started using Brain.fm pretty a lot for many years, and now I find myself not doing that as much. And I need to start again. I need to start, incorporating and engaging with music, because there are certain music genres that really I enjoy listening to while I'm doing maybe light work that doesn't require my full attention. And then there's work that I really enjoy listening to when I do need full attention. Something that's like Baroque classical or otherwise is really going to engage me when I'm doing that kind of more focused and flow work that requires me deep concentration. And so I like having those pieces. All right, onward to our productivity resources of the week. And so Augusto and I scour the interwebs every week for all of our news that we bring to you. And of course, we only bring you a selection of many, many more articles that he and I read throughout the week, and we provide that in the supplementary materials inside of Personal Productivity Club. So if you're not inside of the club, if you visit Personal Productivity Club and join our Anything But Idle community, you'll see there we'll list all of the articles inside the event for today, and otherwise, we come across a bunch of other tools, apps, and services that we think people would enjoy in their productivity journeys. And so we like to share those with you each week. So do you want to go up first, Augusto, or you want me to go?
I can go. So the one I have is a product called the Rolling Square Edge Pro. And it has two magnets. It has I don't know how that's called in English. That's basically a connection, and you can move it, put it in different angles. But what allows you is you can connect things to your phone. You can connect things to connect two devices, one to the other. So they are now like a big device. It has been very interesting. I bought it for a particular thing, and I've been buying more because it's very nice. For example, when I'm watching TV and I don't want to have the keyboard, just the iPad, I can now put the iPad and the phone side by side. Or in my case, who used two iPad minis, the two iPad minis get side by side. Like, I have always dreamed Apple to build that product for me, and they have decided not to build it. Don't worry, Apple. I found the Rolling Square Edge Pro, and now I can put side by side the two iPad minis and use it as the Samsung or the Microsoft I forgot the name of the device, who was the size of an iPad mini double.
Fantastic. And so for me, I chose this week something called There's an AI for That. And so obviously lots of people are interested in different AI technologies. I know that I am, and I'm looking at the movement of the of the technology and really trying to think about it, how it's working for folks, and how it can work for folks to be more productive. And so there's a website called there's an AI for that.com, and I'll bring it up on screen just very quickly here. And so yeah, so you basically go into the little search box in the middle of the screen, and you just tell it what you're looking for. So if you're looking for something that's what's that?
It's not showing yet.
Oh, interesting. I wonder why it's not showing. Oh, you know why? Because I have to click show on screen. So if you go to the site, you could type in social media, and you have all kinds of different options here. Social media management, and then it'll just basically give you a search of all of the various social media management AI tools that are out there. And so then you can kind of scroll through and see all the various options, and people have rated them, and they're there are all kinds of little interesting bits about them. Like it tells you what their free and paid plans are, and what they do. So just kind of like almost like a product hunt, but for AI. So very, very useful tool when you're like, hey, you know what? I know there's an AI for that. There's got to be an AI for that. And so doing a little bit of search on there's an AI for that.com will be helpful. Alrighty, Gusto. Anything else this week?
That's all that we have for this week.
Fantastic. So we have covered the productivity and related technology news for this week. Thank you, Augusto, for putting together this show each and every week. And we'll see you next week. All right. For those inside Personal Productivity Club, in the Anything But Idle group, you'll find our show notes with links to all the stories, the productivity resources of the week, and any extra stories we didn't cover. We'll also include a text transcript and all that jazz for you. If you're seeing this episode on anythingbutidle.com or through your podcast app of choice, you can just click on the show notes link, and that will take you over to join the group so you can see the articles, resources, and links. We're just aggregating all of that inside of the community, so it's all in one place for us. And so you can go ahead and access it there. It's free to join. It just gives us one place to put it all without having to post it in multiple places. So if you review the show notes and we missed something, or if you have a comment about those things, feel free to go ahead and comment directly on the episode. We'll be happy to converse with you there inside the Anything But Idle group inside of Personal Productivity Club. If you have a question or a comment about anything we discussed during this show, you can do the same. You can also join Personal Productivity Club and message Augusto or myself. There's a messaging function within the community as well. If you were just hearing this and want to do it really quickly, you can go to anythingbutidle.com/community, and it'll take you to Personal Productivity Club to sign up and join the group automatically. If you're listening to the podcast for the first time, feel free to add us, which means following or subscribing. Both are free to the podcast there in your favorite podcast app. And with that, we will see you all next time on Anything But Idle. Here's to your productive life. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.